Does everything have a bright side to it? Of course. Doesn't always outweigh the negatives, but everything has a bright side to it. This makes happiness a choice. And here we say that the discipline of being happy is the ultimate discipline. With that said, welcome to the Ultimate Discipline Podcast, where we meet with people who are practitioners of this exact discipline, and we hear their cool stories of cultivating happiness through challenges in their life. I am your host, Sean Greenspan. Let's get to it.
Matt, what's up, brother?
What's happening, dude? Nice to see you, my friend.
I know, man. I know. What's new in your world?
Oh man, I got a race coming up here in like less than 30 days.
Love
Kicked
it.
off the morning here this morning, Monday. Logged in some miles, but nothing crazy, dude. I actually, dude, and we could chat about it a little later too. But Aftershocks, the headphones, that might be a client. So that's a win.
Nice. Yeah, dude. Let's
Yeah,
talk about
but
it.
dude, other than that, man, nothing crazy, dude. It's
How
funny
you
because,
feeling?
dude, me and Sean always chat. So now we're chatting in like a different environment where it's proper, but it's interesting because we typically are catching up on other stuff always.
I know, right? Yeah, it's like it's actually good. We could skip the like, oh, how is your training going, and we can get to like the meat, man. I don't know. Last we talked was what is Monday, Friday. You were like, yeah, I got this 19-mile run coming. For those that don't know, Matt's got a marathon coming up, 26 miles in 26 days.
Hell yeah, hell yeah. It should be a good one. I'm going to be out in the Seattle area. It's the Tunnel Vision Marathon in North Bend. So yeah, I mean, obviously Sean's kind of been filled in, but my goal is to qualify for Boston. So I'm trying to run a sub 3 hour marathon at this race, and that's kind of been what my training has been filled up with. Is just kind of a lot of prep for that. So it's been super fun. I'm excited to also just like get out of my running like system after this race a little bit, honestly. I'm sure I'll still run, but maybe not as much. But I'm looking forward to this race. I really am.
What do you mean by that? The
I
getting out
mean,
of the
and no, I mean, look, routine is very important and good for all humans. And sometimes when you're so locked into a goal, something like this, like it almost takes precedent over everything else. And it's a big priority of mine at the moment, and it's something that I'm willing to sacrifice other things for. And I think just like when there's not a race coming up, and or maybe once the race is complete, I'll have a little bit of a different framework when it comes to like training all the time.
yeah.
But no, I think it's good. It's good for humans to have those moments where they're reaching or chasing after a goal, and continuing their fitness even after a goal is done. But obviously, the level of intensity starts to decrease in that sense.
So there's a lot to unpack there because here's my first question. If you're gonna hit sub 3 hours on this trail run. I don't want to speak into the world, but imagine you don't. Would you then keep the training going since you're in such good shape so you can hit one? Or are you kind of just feeling like, you've been tapped, you're ready to take like a little bit of, not a break, but you know what I mean, like slow down a little bit.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously, if for whatever reason I don't qualify, like I'll be getting into another race soon. Like I won't be going through a whole training block. I'm
Mm-hmm.
just gonna find another race. Like, obviously, if I don't hit it for whatever reason, there'll be some things I need to work on. But the goal would be then to obviously find a race before November to qualify for Boston 2023. But to answer your question in a like kind of an addition, I mean, even for me, like when I say scale back my running, like more of it is not, it's more the volume, right? Like I'm just not going to run 60, 70 miles weeks. It'll just kind of get decreased to like maybe 30 to 40 where I'll keep running in my routine, but it's just not going to be it's not going to be like top priority, right? Like if something happens and I
Yeah.
can't go on, that's okay. Like that's just life. But obviously the goal, Sean, is I'm a BQ runner. Like it's in my head already that it's there. I just need to go out and do it at a race now.
Yeah. Well, you obviously know the podcast here, right? It's happiness, life's ultimate discipline, and a big thing in discipline is goals, right? Making sure that you're setting goals. I just finished my 50K, right? this ugly ass shirt, dancing with the dirt, dances with the dirt. Dude, this was a just like country ass race, dude. It was so I loved it. That it was like I don't know, it was my style. Big huge barbecue after, and Matt, I was running a lot, right? So and mine was more about stacking miles than speed, right? So I was probably on my feet, even more of a time commitment. Um,
Mhm.
and I haven't ran since, not once, not even a jog. I've I've worked out hard. Yesterday was tire flips and bear crawls. I played some basketball, but like I'm looking at this week. I'm playing basketball like 4 times. And I'm gonna lift, but like I don't see myself running for like not even one jog for a while, just because like I don't know. I set a new goal, like completely separate, um, and I don't know. Like that's why it was funny when you said that to me because I was like, for me, I was like, I just haven't ran like at all since.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, dude, there's obviously, depending on who you might talk to, like, if Kelly Starrett was on this call, he would say, like, no, like it depends on what your goal is. Like, if you want to continue running, and obviously you've built up a good base, you don't want to just lose those tissue tolerance completely. That's why staying engaged in some form of physical activity is always good.
oh yeah.
But even if you just went for like a mile jog, like if you turned all the miles that you've submitted in and then you just went on a mile every other day, like you'd be shocked at how much that would actually be a form of recovery for the system. And that's kind of how I think of it too, Sean, where it's like, I just don't need dude, it's a burden when you have to go run 9 miles on a Monday morning. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that, dude, that's time. And like,
And I
obviously
know you
there's
like to lift too and everything.
yeah, dude, for sure, right? And there's arguments that could be made that like that's not the optimal way for the human body to actually move. Like you would probably make the argument that, somewhere between 3 to 6 miles is like a good prime spot for most tissue for our muscles, like for them to get a good response of the cardiovascular, but also not overtraining it and
Hmm.
overstrain. But yeah, I mean, honestly, like when I say scale back running, Sean, you know me, like I'm like, all right, well, an 8 miler turns into like a 2 to 4, and
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
that's a win for me.
Dude, for sure. And the like I'm saying, I hooped 4 times last week and I lifted 6 days, right? Like you still got
Yeah,
to get it in, but it's just funny. It's funny the power of goals, man. I mean, like Emma and Rob, dude, they were not runners at all. They signed up for the half marathon just for the fun of it, and they were just trying to power hike it because they don't run, and like they ended up getting tons of miles on their feet, and they ended up jogging like a little bit like of it, which was just like outstanding for them. Matt, so like the power goals is fucking strong, dude. And like I was saying, Emma and Rob like just set this goal for a half marathon, to do it in 3 hours because they were just gonna walk it. They both in the beginning said, Sean, I won't jog any of it. I was like, that's fine, like run your race, right?
yeah.
In the trainings, I started getting texts like I ended up doing a track workout where like I jogged the straightaways, walked the curves. Then Rob's like, I tried to do an 8 mile walk and I had to get home, so I ran the last 2 miles. And dude, these people who swore they couldn't run, they ended up crushing it. They were both under 2.5 hours. Um, so
That's amazing.
as it relates to happiness, right? Like, as we kind of talked about, like we talk frequently, we know each other pretty well. Um, I know that like you qualifying for this Boston in the grand scheme of things doesn't matter at all. So why set this goal like and chase it so hard as it relates to just like your spirit?
Yeah, no, I mean, dude, that's a fact. I mean, I think, even for me personally, like the running challenges and things I've done have been more about the fulfillment of the journey. Like it's the journey of actually attempting it. Whether I do it or not, it's quite irrelevant. Like my happiness scale is going to be the same. Like it's not going to drive more happiness or less, or it's not going to drive more monetary gain or less. It's just, I think as humans, at a certain point of our life, like we stop trying to chase after like childhood dreams or things that seem very
Mm,
unattainable, right? I think that there's joy in just the journey of attempting it. And that's kind of like been my whole journey of running, bro. Like even when you guys first got me to do my first 50 miler at Utah, like, dude, I didn't know if I could do it. Like there was a level of doubt that even I had. It was like bro, I never ran a full marathon before. I've only done the Goggins challenge. Like there was a level of audacity that I had to think that, shoot, I have some savage friends that are about to go attempt something crazy. Can I even do half of it, right? And I
Mm.
think for most people, like the happiness aspect is not if you reach the goal or not. It's more, can you commit yourself and stay disciplined to even attempting it? Because there's a lot of joy in that journey of like showing up for yourself. Most people in this world, I feel like, are unhappy because they don't love themselves enough to dedicate themselves to a goal, stay disciplined to a diet, stay disciplined to a loved one, whatever it might be. So personally for me, like I'm on this journey of like fully being aware and trying to understand self. And like that's a journey that like I think as humans, you can actually go into very deep levels of that. Even for our family, our friends, our loved ones, we know them well, but we don't know them fully. The only individual that you'll get to actually deep dive with and fully try to get to know and understand is yourself. And I think throughout these challenges, like that's why I find happiness and joy in it, is because it's just a journey of that. It's like I'm trying to figure out, you know, what level will tick me off. Like at what point can I not tolerate this type of stress anymore? And that's kind of where I find the joy in that sense.
That's awesome. I love the way you put it. A couple things there. The fact that we don't chase those like dreams and stuff like kids. Man, repression. There's a chapter about it in Tim Ferriss's 4 Hour Work Week. I think repression is one of like the saddest things. And he talks about how like if you want to make something of yourself, you have to reverse repression. He has exercises for it. He's like, go to a coffee shop and lay down in the middle of the floor. Like he has some crazy stuff that he's like, I just need you to just get out of your comfort zone to train the get out of your comfort zone muscle. And he's like, he's like, for the next week, I need you to like the 5 prettiest girls you see. I need you to go say, hey, like, I will kick myself if I didn't do this, but like, I would love to have your number and ask you out. Like, he's like, if you have a girlfriend, throw the number out. Like, I guess this book was written before fucking paper, like before.
But just do it. Just that rep. It's a rep.
Dude, yeah, it is, man, and it's interesting. That's what I think, right? So I'll tell you. This morning, my uncle called me. My uncle's on a grind right now, Matt. He's 58. He power hikes 2 miles every morning at in 28 minutes. Sorry, like super fast. Yeah. And then he does 10 sets of push-ups, 10 sets of pull-ups, 10 sets of squats. That's it. That's his workout. Because he's like, Sean, I need like 45, 50-minute full body type workout. I want it to be mindless. He's like, I'm not looking at a phone. Like, I need to remember it. So I'm like, okay, big muscle groups. Like, this is kind of like stuff we could do. He's also starting a music career at 58. So, dude, he has a website. You could buy stickers. You could stream his shit. He's got like, everything. He's playing like open mics, like all this stuff. And he was like, Sean, I realized like chasing this music and this this fitness, like my work is better. Like he's in sales. He's like, dude, I've never sold more. And he's like, and I'm just like eating healthier. He's like, I work so hard. I'm like, why would I not eat healthy? And that self-love is just, you could see it's going up, man. And it was cool because what he said to me was, he was like, Sean, like, he's just being an uncle, right? He's like, I'm not like you yet, where like, and he was like, everything's just like going in the right direction. I'm like, whoa. Like, please don't put me on that. I was like, but something I will say is I've definitely come to a place where I'm dedicated to trying to get better. Like, I don't think I'm like self-actualizing anything yet, especially not knowing yourself, like you say. But, I think that's the goal for me, is to just stay dedicated to getting better, because the journey's the fun part. Like, like there's no outcome.
Dude, think about that. Someone at 58 reinventing themselves, finding new hobbies, like, dude, that's how you stay fresh. Like, that was like one of the main things I learned in Blue Zones, bro, was like, even as people got older, they were still, Sean, trying to reinvent themselves and learn new things. And as humans, at times when you work a job for 20, 30, 40 years and you start to think about retirement,
Yeah.
Think about what happens in retirement. In Western culture at 65, you kick your feet up and you're kind of just like you're counting down the days that you can kind of just do nothing. But there's no joy in doing nothing. Even when you're think about when you last time you went on vacation and you sat on a beach. You might have never done that because your personality is not meant for sitting and relaxing. Because even when you're on vacation, you want to explore, you want to smell, you want to taste, you want to do new things, and that creates like cognitive structure in our mind where it's like we're learning new things in our neurotransmitters and keeping that fresh at 58, bro. That is like so powerful because I guarantee that your uncle will start to live longer just on the sense of like staying fresh in his mind.
He's got
And
something to live for.
dude,
He's got a
100%.
music career.
I mean, dude, that's it's inspirational at that age, and that's why I always say, Sean, like, no matter who you are in this world, like everyone has a story. We all have something to say. We all have a journey that we've been on, and you don't have to be, Pat Mahomes to stop talk. Like, you can be an average Joe and speak because you have a story that someone might resonate with, and I guarantee there's other 58-year-olds that will get inspired by your uncle's story off the
Hell yeah.
strength that he's just trying something new.
Hell yeah. I appreciate that, Matt. And
That's
I don't know if you were on a call, but with Juliet, she once told me, I know I'm on vacation when I work out and play a sport in the same day.
you have time for it.
But Matt, so let me tell you something. Let me tell you something that was like, dude, I'm on a high right now of energy. I gotta tell you. Yesterday I woke up like, and after my ultra marathon, I didn't take a day off because I got invited to this basketball league the next day, and it was a nice league. So I was like, all right, I'm in. And then I started playing and lifting. So I said, that's it. Tomorrow or yesterday was a true off day for me, which is 20. I did a 20-minute hit workout of tire flips and bear crawls, super intense, and then stretch for like 45 minutes. And I came back and I said, like, I literally have nothing to do. Like, literally, I have no social plans, no commitments, no work I need to get done. So I was like, all right, like, what would I do? And I ended up writing a blog about that. Like, like I have all the resources I need to do whatever. And we all like are saying like, oh, like I want more time. Like I want financial freedom just so I can have time. It's like, okay, cool. I got it. And now I'm still questioning myself, Matt. You talk about like a paradox in my head. So, but what I did was, so I started like writing this blog, and then I realized like I actually want to send this blog to my friend's aunt that like I know well, and I think she like a random person, but I thought she would resonate with it well.
Right.
And then I thought that this blog would actually resonate with Gay Hendricks, the author of The Big Leap. So I sent it to him, and he like got back to me pretty quickly. And then I realized like, hey, like this blog, like I'm sharing it in long form, but I'd love to just like share it in quick short form. So I made like a video about it for like TikTok and Instagram. And I realized like that's a retired day for me. Like I did it at my pace. Like, dude, I didn't set out to like try to like do anything. I set out like I was sitting there with nothing to do on the couch, and I was like, I should write about having nothing to do. Like it just can't. I don't know. I felt like it, and like that shit. Like, I don't know. What would you do? Like if tomorrow you had nothing, no workout, nothing to do for work. Like what comes to mind for you of just like things to explore? I know you're a learner.
100%, dude. I mean, I think there's, whether it's doing things that you don't have the time to do, right? Whether it's writing, journaling, like something for me that, like, especially after I got my blood work done, like, I'm trying to be more, I have times in my day where like I'm fully away from tech. I'm fully away from like just distraction, just in general, right? But I think there's always time where we can sit within our own thoughts, and whether that's reading or journaling, like for me to sit down and journal my thoughts is uncomfortable. Like I could meditate. Like when I first got into meditation, and when you introduced me to Wim Hof at first, I was like, damn, like even those 8 to 9 minutes where you're focusing straightly on breath and breath work, as well as just kind of being in your own thoughts, like it wasn't comfortable. Like it didn't come easy for me. Like I started to build that tolerance to do it. But dude, honestly, I think now like I'm trying to get in more of my thoughts, especially as my body is starting to wind down. So to answer your question, I think I would find myself like either spending some time outside and just like kind of either hearing just nature or just being one with my own self. And it could be journaling, it could be writing, but I've appreciated this a lot more because, dude, a lot of what we do has been from the outside, it looks like physical, this like lifting, running, business, like entrepreneur. Like it's just so like type A personality type of stuff. But like, dude, meditating, journaling, like grounding, like these are things that are not as sexy. But I think you can reap just as many of the rewards from it. And it's something that it doesn't come as natural. Like I can go wake up and go run. It's easy for me to do. But like to wake up and start my day with meditation or journaling, like that's a little bit more uncomfortable. And I think it's important to do those things in any form or fashion. It doesn't have to be physical all the time.
Hell
And
yeah.
that's I want to always preach in my content too, because it's so easy for people that look at my stuff. It's like, oh shit, Matt just runs, he runs, but like it's all the stuff that you're doing besides the 8 miles. Like, dude, we all have 22 other hours. Sean,
Yeah.
you and I both know that those 22 hours are filled with a lot of other shit besides physical stuff. So that's kind of something that I would do if I had like an open day where it's like the videos are made, business is straight, like I'm just chilling. Like I would just like want to be in my own thoughts because I'm always around the phone.
Yeah, that makes sense. I will say the shirts at the gym that I go to now, they all say 4%, and it says if you work out an hour a day, that's only 4% of your day. So it's like that shit
I
that we
like
always
that.
talk about. Dude, I
Fucking
like that. And Matt, dude, there's this company I found out that we got a link about. It's called 023. It's called the Other 23 Hours. So check this. It's a personal trainer for not when you're working out. For how do you stand when you're working, bro? Like, dude, that's cool. What do you like? If you're gonna watch TV, how are you sitting? Are you stretching or are you
Oh,
fucking
two,
laid
three.
out? Yeah, Taylor. It's Taylor's boy, Captain Lifestyle.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll connect on that. But Matt, I want to tell you about something that I was told actually from one of my friends here. He said, "How are you trained for this ultra?" And this guy's kind of like a guru, if you will, with meditation. And I said, I'm running whatever. And he was like, "Well, are you like meditating?" And I was like, "Well, I'm doing my Wim Hof breathing, and when I can, I'm getting my like 10, 20 minutes of just just like sitting there following the breath type meditation." And he goes, "You need to be training your meditations like ultras. Like on the weekends, you need to get hour-long meditations in." And I was like, well, I was like, "Why?" And he was like, "What's going to happen when you sit there for an hour?" So I don't need to tell you about my conversation. I'll tell you, for the 4 Sundays leading up to the meditation, I did an hour-long meditation where I laid there on the ground, no cell phone, nothing, eyes closed. And all I told myself was no matter what, like, just focus on the breath, like the complete from the beginning of the inhale all the way to the end and out, right? And you have like thoughts that come up, right? And everyone says like let them go. So like that's super easy. Like, oh, like what should I do later? Doesn't matter. Just let it go, right? Like, is this good for me? Doesn't matter. You already committed to it, right? Fucking let it go. Should I move, right? Because that's a thought too. Like, should I like adjust my neck?
Hell
Like it's a little uncomfortable. No, don't like resolve to not move. Like you can move, but resolve to not move. So I was laying there, and Matt, it's crazy. The mind is crazy, dude. 30 minutes in, I started thinking like, dude, I really like haven't talked to my mom in a while. I need to call her, and I should probably call her now. And dude, I had that thought, and I felt my hand go like that. And I'm like, what are you doing? Just stop fucking thinking, dude. And I just like stayed there. And like, dude, this shit just keeps like thoughts just don't stop. And then it's funny. So I called him. And I told him about my experience, and he's like, "This okay? Now let me ask you a question, Matt. You took a 19-mile run in the heat at like a ungodly pace. I'll brag for you. Matt's running at like 6 minutes for 19 miles. You said a couple of miles were really hard, right? But you obviously kept pushing, right? Your brain, and that's exactly your brain says, "Oh, you should slow down. It's hot." Like, "Oh, you should slow down. Like, you train hard enough." Like, "Oh, you should slow down. Like, your fucking adrenaline's gonna get you through the marathon." It's the same shit, dude. And like, I felt it on the ultra. It was crazy. Like, it might be something to play around with. Like, challenge yourself like it's a sport.
No, 100%. It's at times we don't take all the other aspects of the things we do as seriously as we do training or
Hmm.
nutrition. Right? As people, we look at the main things that are like priorities and we say, let's focus on movement, let's focus on what we're eating. But like even for me, Sean, something that I like need to take as serious as sleep. Or in this form, it could be meditation. It could be so many other things where like, are you taking it as seriously as you are the buckets where you think are the most important? But no, dude, I think what you said there in terms of one attempting it, I definitely will within the next couple of weeks. And one, I'll be honest, like even on runs now, like even as in good shape I'm in, there's points in the run, even on this 19 miler, where I felt like shit. Like I had to either stop or I thought about stopping, or I'm like, you know what I'm saying? Like, does that mean that a workout is a failure? Yes and no. It's all relative, right? It's subjective because like what someone might deem as failure is like, okay, Matt, you didn't hit your per mile splits that we had planned in this workout. Yes, that's true. I did not hit those splits. Does that mean that my 19 miles was a failure? Yes and no. Like obviously the goal is that there's a workout, there's splits that we have to hit these things. There's benchmarks, of course. But dude, in life, sometimes the system, your emotional, whatever it might be, like you might not be firing on all cylinders, and that's okay. Like it would be easy for me to be mad at myself, like Matt, oh my god, that starts to have doubt creep into your mind, like oh my god,
Yeah.
like are you ready? Like am I ready to hit a sub 3 hour marathon? I wasn't able to hit any of my splits. Does that mean that I should go into this race feeling unprepared? No, it's one of those things where as one, first of all, as humans, I think we judge ourselves too much sometimes, and we're too hard on ourselves, and we don't give ourselves enough credit when we're
Hmm.
achieving dope things, when we're living life to the fullest, and like there's areas where we're doing a lot of great things that sometimes we don't give ourselves credit for. And I think in moments like that, I get questions and DMs all the time, like, "Oh my God, Matt, like I wish I was able to keep running after 2 miles." Well, like, why aren't we happy about running 2 miles? Like that's a great feat. And I think
Yeah.
it's that where we just gotta sometimes change the way that we talk to ourselves. And it's difficult when you're a high achiever and you're type A and you're trying to really achieve dope things. Sometimes we are too hard on ourselves. And I think it's there's moments where Sean, like meditation or breath work, where you can be more kind and be thoughtful of the words that you're saying to yourself. And I think that shit is important, bro. It's just as important as the physical stuff.
Yeah. Matt, I gotta thank you for that. Um, January 1st this year, I told myself my word would be balance. And I was talking to Emma about how I want to define balance. And she goes, I got a way for you to define it. And she said that you have one foot in gratitude and one foot in ambition. Um, and dude, I just gotta thank you because I think I lost sight of that a little. Like you said, like, dude, not only was your ninth, like, first of all, you put like from like a training aspect, you put 19 miles on your feet. You understand that that's like beyond building your base. You're building your fitness, right? You also were doing it at pace, so you're really building your fitness. You're building your mental aspect to it, like you're sharpening yourself. That was a killer success. But then, like you said, like right, like did you hit like your actual splits? No. So it's like it's all good, but keep grinding. Like it's all
100%.
it's all good, but just keep grinding. Like don't trip over it. And I appreciate you saying that, dude. It's always and it's always and even in yes and no. I was listening to a podcast last night. Lisa, it was on Jay Shetty's. Lisa B.
Is that
I
the one you
think
sent?
I think she was in the book The Secret. She was one of the people getting interviewed. Um,
Okay, okay.
and she was like, she was talking about how people, like don't live the and life. They're like, I want to be sensitive, but like I'm a leader. I need to lead with like authority. And it's like, why not? Why can't you like,
Do both.
do both? Like it's just always both.
It's always and, bro. And that's just and Sean, sometimes one, how do you get there? Like you need to be somewhat open-minded. And like if you're not open-minded, then of course you're gonna think it's black and white or it's gonna be one or the other. Like, but as humans, you need to open up your perspective and say, like, damn, like, am I able to adjust and adapt to these things? and can I add something into my routine or into my own like intellectual, my personality, my emotional, whatever it might be. But I think it starts with having an open mindset. Because if you're closed minded, then of course you're gonna say, "Oh, it's because my parents, it's because of genes, it's because I've always lived in Maryland." Like, dude, the reason that it's not happening is already imprinted into your mind. And if you're closed minded, you're not gonna seek any other type of
Yeah.
a proof in that sense.
Yeah, man. I just wrote down open minded. I'm so grateful for the people I have in my world. I'm grateful for you, man. I'm grateful for my brother. Like you guys both like open minded is something that like I've realized that it's one of those things like I preach and I believe, and then sometimes I don't practice what I preach, right? Because we have someone, me and my brother have someone in our life that we're trying to help, and I'm like, dude, like I know the path they're on right now is not going to help them. Like they need to change. And Jeffrey goes, "You're probably right, but that's a bold statement, right?" And I was like, "Wow!" Like I just took like what I said as like you've checked me in that way. I've just taken like, because Matt, where I come from is like I really want to help people, and like generally if I'm gonna offer advice, it's like it's not on a whim. It's like it's like premeditated, right? But that still doesn't mean it's fucking right. And dude, I was like, I really like closed off my mind, and I was trying to help the other person open their mind, dude. And it was like, it just put me in a seat. I loved it, Matt. It just put me in a seat. I was like, Jeffrey, I appreciate you. Like,
And dude, no, and think about that. Sean. It's such a it's like a play on words. You were trying to open someone's mind, but you were being closed minded in that, right? And it's like at times, bro, like even when think about it, when you're trying to sell someone, when you're trying to pitch someone, you're trying to sell them on the idea of why they should work with you, buy something from you, whatever it might be. And even in this case, Sean, you're just trying to help. You don't even want someone to buy something. You just want them to buy the words that you're speaking,
yes,
right? But it's one of those things where, and dude, you and I, we've had a conversation about this many of times of like being at peace with understanding that not everyone's going to have the same framework and understand like ideology that you're going to have. And part of it is because you're a very high achiever. But secondly, not everyone's willing to get to that point of, to your point, being open-minded, like taking the criticism, taking feedback, like even what you just said, having good people in your life that are challenging your thoughts, bro. Part of that, Sean, is that you're willing, and at this point of your life, you're willing to take in that feedback and that constructive criticism. And Tim Grover said this in Relentless, who's Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant's trainer. He said feedback and criticism is the same thing. The only thing that's different is how the person receives it. If they think it's criticism, then they're gonna say, "Oh no, like, dude, you're wrong." Like when they get criticism from the media, like they get very defensive. But when you get feedback from your coach or someone you love, that you take that in so much differently because it's coming out of love and compassion. But people typically, when something is coming negatively, they take it as criticism, like, oh my God, like, don't tell me how to run my business. Don't tell me how to do this. Don't
yeah,
tell me
you're
how to
right.
run. But when you're getting feedback from someone you love, care, respect, if it's from Dean Carnassian or someone or David Goggins, you and I would take that feedback way differently versus someone who's in my comments saying, this isn't how you prep for a marathon. So I think as humans, the ability to take feedback all the time, right? From whether it's positive or negative, is an important skill to learn because we don't want to get defensive in this world like, oh my God, who are you to tell me what to do? Because it's
Yeah.
easy to be like that, you know?
Dude, I I had a guy who coached me in sales early in my career, and he told me two things that just I thought they were money for life. And one was feedback's a gift, and the other is focus wins, and that's a separate topic. But dude, do you know how many times we try? People try to do too much at once. I mean, I would say I fall in that category. Versus like, like Matt, if I told you, hey, like at the end of this year, you can be a Boston qualifying runner and your business could take off, and who knows about everything else, or you can, make a B minus in like 20 different things. You'd be like, give me those two. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, let me, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're like, fuck the rest. Um, but so actually, something funny about Dean Karnazes is Randy introduced us, And dude, you know what Randy put in the little shit? He goes, like Sean and Matt, like got a company, they'll help you, like expand your impact. So for those that don't know, me and Matt work with brands and companies to help expand their impact, generally through social media, right? Creating short form content to get their message out. And Randy goes, and they agreed to run the next 100-mile race with you and record content the whole time and put it up live. I was like, I know they agreed to that, Randy. I was like,
I mean, honestly, that would be epic,
fire,
and I
epic.
would be more than
Matt,
willing to do it.
Matt, we would be like, well, then who's going to record us? Like, we'll have like a team out there.
I'm about to say, it's like,
Um,
dude, if that's the case, well, we need to bring some more cameras. But that's hilarious. I
um,
love that.
but hey, going back to this, there's something I've been thinking about. So we're trying to sharpen our physical fitness. We're trying to sharpen our diet. We're trying to sharpen our mind. We're trying to sharpen our business. We're trying to sharpen our friend's business. We're trying to meditate, breathe, uh, help our family out. We're trying to live a yes and no life. We're trying to stay open minded. We're trying to practice self love, gratitude, create goals, all this shit, right? It could be overwhelming to say the least.
Yeah.
Definitely could be overwhelming. So I thought to myself, obviously, one, you need to be grounded, right, in the fact that you're not there, but you're on the path, and the path is where you want to be. But I started thinking, like, if there was like one, maybe two things to focus on, and that I had to prioritize. I believe in force ranking things, right? Like, for example, if you told me I could only do strength or cardio, I would only do cardio. Do I think strength's important? Do I lift more than I run now? Yeah, but like I think if your heart's not healthy, well, we don't need to get into it. But you know what I'm saying? Like you just for whatever
Yeah.
reason you need to prioritize things. Like because there's going to be a day when Matt you want to do both and you only have time for one, so you just need to boom, choose. Am I going to run or am I going to fucking lift? The thing that I've tried to that I want to prioritize for the second half of 2022 is awareness. And what I mean by that is if you're like highly aware in the moment, you'll be aware that you're like not being open-minded. If you're like really highly aware, like that's like what like you'll realize have you ever been running and you've like naturally slowed down and you didn't even notice you slowed down until maybe 20 seconds later because like you're like you're living out a habit, right? Like I don't know. I don't know if that or like you're talking about like yes and no. Like if you're really sitting with consciousness, like it's pretty obvious. Your 19-mile run's not a bust, but you got work to do, right? I don't know. How does that like sit with you that like I know it's a big question, but like awareness is kind of like this overarching element that trickles down and should help all these other things that we're focusing on.
Yeah. I mean, dude, I think awareness comes in a lot of forms too. It's like, I mean, I think honestly, self awareness is the top priority for most people. But the wildest thing, and it's self awareness, self love is very similar, right? There's one form where there's tactical things that you're doing to basically fill your cup up, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
there's that saying of like, if you don't love yourself, how can you love someone else? And that could be family, that could be relationally, whatever. But the self awareness aspect is it's a different piece than self love because now you're actually pinpointing like triggers. What brings you happiness? What brings you joy? Like what challenges you? Like that's a different level of awareness of just filling up your cup and moving your body, eating healthy. Right? It's a different category. So I think anytime you're going into anything awareness wise, like one, you're really trying. You're in a framework where you're trying to learn because there's no person that's trying to get deep into their self-awareness if they're not willing to learn and be open-minded because you're going to
Mm-hmm.
peel back things of the onion that might not be the prettiest thing. And at times for people when you've been so conditioned into one framework, dude, that it's hard to really be aware of like the way that you're responding or the fact that you are closed-minded. Most people that are closed-minded, Sean, like it would take a lot for them to peel back that onion, and whether it's friends, family, loved ones that are telling them like, hey, the way that you're thinking or the way that you have certain opinions on things are not necessarily the best way to go about it when it comes to, having arguments on stupid things, or being mad at someone because they don't agree with the same opinion that you might have. I don't know. I think when it comes to awareness in general, bro, like, one, as people, you just got to understand that that's actually the biggest battle. Like, the person that
Yeah.
you're looking at in the mirror is the most important we're going to have. And not many people get to the level of understanding of who they are actually. And I don't know if any of us ever get to the point of fully knowing, but I think the challenge of life
A
is like
Buddha.
every day, just, yeah, dude. I mean, maybe a Buddha, maybe a monk, right? But even them, I think there's a level of like unknown that they even step into, that they don't know certain shit. And
Oh yeah.
until you step into those things, it's hard to really say that I'm fully aware of who I am. Because even for me, dude, there's as much awareness I have about who I am as a human and the things that trigger me. Like, there's things that I don't know still.
Of course,
And I
dude.
think the
A
journey of
lot.
life is like a lot. There's a lot. And I'm just excited. And that kind of, more than money, Sean, more than number of followers, like that journey, I am more motivated about, more disciplined about, because it's evergreen, bro. Like, that's going to happen until I die. Like, there will be always something that I can learn more about myself until I die. And there's no
Yeah.
amount of money that I make that makes me feel like, oh my God, now I know who Matt Choi is. Nah. Because, like, if I'm a millionaire versus a billionaire, I guarantee that there's still growth that's happening in
Oh,
that journey.
and I hate to say it, but like, Matt Choi now to Matt Choi millionaire to Matt Choi billionaire, you're gonna be a different person. Like, not, it's not gonna completely change who you are, but like, of course, like, like you will act differently, and then you'll have more to learn about yourself. And that it's really interesting, Matt. Like, I've been trying to observe myself, right? So, and like my emotions. So this morning I was on a call. I was looking to hire a second virtual assistant. Um, I knew what I wanted to say. I knew what the outcome was. I took the call to be polite and give her some FaceTime. I wanted the call to be 10 minutes max, right? 15 minutes maybe. And at like minute 7, I felt myself getting like anxious, right? And I was kind of like, all right, like, let's get fucking rolling. And then some
Yeah.
shit like this, like whatever time we're at, so it's almost 11, and I like we booked an hour. I don't have like a hard stop, and I was just like I haven't checked the time once. Like, I have no like angst.
Yeah.
So observe yourself, right? So it's like, what do you like when people say like I enjoy doing this? Like, have you observed yourself? Like, I clearly enjoy doing this. Like, lost track of time, dude. My blog yesterday, I wanted to do it. What I like is like the natural way where I write it in my journal, and then I write like a public version of it that, a little less personal.
Mhm.
Just the writing element took 2 hours. And you know me, to spend 2 hours on something, that should better be important. I never even looked at the clock. I didn't know 2 hours went by. Then Emma like came back from the gym. She's like, "You're still writing?" I was like, "Oh, I guess so." Like, it's like, it's really interesting because you're talking about like learning about yourself. Like, dude, like, just observe like how you feel. Like, in like, I know you love the artistic creation of like creating content. That's why like 45 minutes go by and it's nothing to you. And for me, I'm like, all right, get this fucking piece out.
No, I mean, dude, that is one spot on, Sean. I think and more people need to lean into the things that make them feel that way. Right?
Yeah.
Like, on some real shit. Like, if you have something that you don't give a damn about, stop doing those things. Like, it's your mind is telling you the answer. And I think a lot of times people, they don't actually lean into those things. And I feel like if people actually did that, and like, dude, if you like hooping and playing pickup for 3 hours is like the most joy that's bringing you to your day, like, you should be doing more of those things that bring you that,
Mm.
and less of the things that cause you the anxiety and the feeling of like, oh my God, why am I still here? And that's why a lot of students don't fucking like school, because they look at the clock to see how much time is left versus really trying to soak in the information. So for anyone listening to this, like, that would be like my biggest tip is like, actually, this whole conversation, we talked about awareness, we talked about being open-minded. You could take a lot of things away from it, but like, if you actually just figure out the passions and interests that you have as a human being And if money did not mean anything, what would you want to do in this world? Like, start there. If you have no starting point, that's a great place to start. It's based on your interest, because you will start to do things that it won't matter how much you're getting paid or how much time is going by, because you actually enjoy it. And
Yeah,
no different than me and Sean, like, we both have different interests that we would do for hours without getting paid. And those are things that you should lean into.
dude. Yeah, I definitely think that's a major takeaway. And let me try to push that further, because this is something like I'm pushing it further, not because like I'm coming in with the secret answer after you. Like I don't know this, and some shit we have to do. I have jury duty on Wednesday. Nobody has pushed jury duty back more than me, Matt. I've been pushing this shit back since no one knew what COVID was.
Yeah.
And and I'm going to this thing. I can either go or not go, but I'm gonna go, right? If everyone didn't go, the system wouldn't fucking work. So I'm just gonna go and put a smile on and try to enjoy it, right? So shit that taxes, business meetings that you just have to attend, fucking jury duty. Like, how do you handle those things? Because like I clearly don't like that wouldn't be my first choice. Let's
Of
just put it that way.
course.
And then how do you handle that? And then how do you also handle if there's something that it's two separate questions. The other thing is something that you don't love, but if you looked at how much all right, let's just pretend, whatever. If you do some shitty thing, you're guaranteed to get an outcome, $1 million, whatever. So if you looked at it, like maybe you don't love that thing, but there's like a future payout, right? Eating healthy. Maybe you don't love eating healthy, but you love feeling energetic. You love feeling positive. You love not wasting your time and money at the doctor. So if you looked at that decision, like over time, like crunched down, you would say like eating healthy is fun, right? You know what I mean? Because like you're just looking at it like the moment. Those are the things that like I've been trying to play with in my head. I don't even know if there's a question in there somewhere, but like,
Well, I think the first question is more like, how do you have a positive attitude doing things that you don't love doing?
yeah,
Right. I think that's kind of like, that's the first question. And I think where I'll go with that, Sean, is like, that happens every day in life. There's meetings, there's people you meet, like, and obviously it wouldn't be your first choice, but that shouldn't negate the fact that you still should try your best to be your best self in those moments, right? And like for me, it's like, one, having a level of gratitude is where it starts, because there's a lot of people in this world
for
that
sure.
right, that they can even walk, that they could walk to jury duty, that they have the function and the capability to do those things.
Or they had a job, right, to take that has
100%.
meetings, right?
100%, right? So like I think it comes to perspective and having level of gratitude. And honestly, like I've gotten to the point, Sean, where like I just don't see where there's room for complaining. Even if those things are
There
not the
isn't.
best time spent, like, dog, what will complaining do? Having a shitty attitude in those moments when there's you have no control, what is that gonna do? And like that's kind of where I go, where it's like, it's just there's no point in complaining or bitching about it, because at the end of
And
the
that,
day, if you have an option, like
yeah,
you can choose to have a positive framework regardless of if you want to be there or not. And like that's a
hell
choice that
yeah.
you and I and every human that's listening to this they have that choice. It's just easier to bitch and complain. Of course it is. The harder thing to do is just be grateful that, hey, that $30 that they give you for lunch, bro. Like, let's talk about that. Because it's easy to pick
Yeah.
out the things, but hey, jury duty, you get a free lunch. Like, and there's ways to always look at the positive. Of course, it's tough. It's very difficult. And obviously, when you talk about bigger issues, because this is very minuscule, it's
Hell yeah.
harder to find the good in bigger issues abortion, you could look at all this shit. But
Yeah.
always there's two ways to look at things, a positive and a negative outlook, and a lot of people choose negative. I just try to pick as much positive shit as I can, and obviously there's always things that will always be shitty regardless, but we as humans still have that control to choose how we want to look at it.
Preach it, Matt. I'm like, I think you could just see, like, I love taking notes. Like my fucking eyes light up and I take notes when I just hear shit that I love, and that shit gave me energy. So I appreciate it. What I heard was like, if you don't like something, like, sitting in gratitude and not complaining, which to me, that's like, that comes back to like that awareness piece. You've heard, gratitude journals, no complaining challenges, even complaining to yourself. The Stoics say complaining's an emotion that's useless. And I'm with that, right? Like, like jury duty, like people always complain, like, oh, like the jury sucked. Like, I have a chance to be a good juror. Like,
Yeah.
like, I have a chance, right? Like, I have
Real
a chance to be
shit,
a
though.
good
That's
juror.
real shit.
And like, do I want to do this forever? No, but like, I can do whatever. Complaining, dude. If someone here thinks complain, like, just try to not complain for an hour. Like, seriously, there's no room for complaints. But Matt, it's so funny. The intro to this podcast is that I basically explain that everything has a bright side to it. So the bright side doesn't have to weigh out. The net outcome doesn't have to be positive. That's not what I'm saying. Your family member dies. That sucks.
Yeah.
But, when my grandfather recently passed away, and he was in hospice, and they said he was going to, die in 2 days, maybe. He lived with no food and water for 4 fucking weeks, Matt. I don't know how. Like, no one could tell me it was a lie because I was there every single day. Yeah. And my parents have been split up. I've never, ever spent 28 straight days with my dad, let alone his brothers, my grandma, whatever. For 28 straight days, I had a dinner with my dad. My mom came a lot, both of my uncles, my grandma. And then, like, every night, like, friends and family came. You can't tell me that's not a gift, man. And yeah, we were somber, but when you sit and look at them all day, like, and you're sad, and then you go have dinner, it's like the opposite. You're like cracking up. Like, you just want something to like excite you. So like, I think people need to look at the bright side of things. And then the other thing I always play with is like, let some shit happens, right? You're a guitar player and you break your hand. That seems like there could be no positive outcome, right? It's like, unless you can tell the future, like, don't tell me it's not a positive in the end, right? I had my friend Phil on here, and he was going to go to the NFL, and he fucked up his tryout, and he didn't. And he said, looking back in retrospect, like, he was wild and kind of, had some problems with like drugs and alcohol. And he was like, who knows? Like, if I was a 22-year-old with like a $2 million check, who knows if I'd be living? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so, and that's real. Like, I don't want to be like super dramatic. It's not always life and death, but like, it really is, because you don't know the outcome. So like, I love what you said of sitting in gratitude, act like, no complaining. And like, you don't have to feel happy to act happy. Like, Matt, you can smile, like, if you're not happy, like, so no, I like where you went with that big time.
No, for sure. And I guess, Sean, something I'll say is like, to your point, like the story that you gave about your uncle, like, obviously it's a sad moment. And like, I'm not saying that you have to like put on a facade that like you're happy that someone in your family is dying, but like, to Sean's point, instead of like masking that, because obviously when someone's in hospice, like, there's an idea that, hey, there's a timeline here. So there's an understanding. It's not like it would be different if it was drastic and like someone that was like super young and that did something drastic, obviously fucking happens, right? But there's definitely moments in grief as well. Like, dude, I'm not saying that someone should be super positive all the time. Like yes and no. Once again, like, there's moments where you should be with family and taking that in and being like, this is the moment for us to be together. And that's the positive of like, yes, I get to see family. I haven't seen these people in a while. We haven't all been together. That's how to look at it positively. But let's be quite frank. Like, everyone that's probably lost someone in their life, family, friend, whatever it might be, that there's nothing happy about that shit. It's sad. And you should be emotional. But what we're saying is more, how do you look at the moment and say, just be appreciative that this death is now bringing in family members that haven't seen each other for years. Now, quality time. There's so many other things that you can look at. Obviously, if you look at it just black and white, there's death happening. That's nothing happy or exciting about that. But I think to Sean's point, it's more the other things that happen after that, right? And it's the dinners, it's the quality time, it's all those other things. And there's a nice balance that needs to happen there. And it's obviously death is very extreme. Other aspects, like your guitar story, like there's a lot of ways you can twist that story into like, yo, you're gonna be even better after you're healed,
Yeah.
right? You have a chance still. You're breathing. You're alive. With death, everyone grieves differently. So I'm not gonna sit here and say that there's a right or wrong way, because that's just emotional. That everyone deals with that shit differently. You know?
Hell yeah. But like I like the thesis. You know what I'm saying? Like your
For
thesis
sure.
is like, yeah.
For
I like
sure.
your thesis for sure. Matt, let's wrap up with a couple questions here. I don't do the questions like I know you do at the end of your podcast, but I thought I should. I thought I wanted to rattle a few off for you.
Let's go.
First one is, how many bands are on your wrist? Because there's got to be more than last time I saw.
I have 4 Loci bands. And if you don't know Loci, it's a super dope brand. I'm not a rep for them or anything, but I like what they represent, Sean. And a lot of it is, one, there's water from Antarctica, and then there's dirt from the Red Sea, which are the highest and lowest points of Earth.
Love it.
And basically the band, it just represents to stay even keeled. And a lot of times in our lives, like, dude, good things happen, bad things happen, just similar to this conversation. But staying even keeled throughout all of it is kind of what the band represents, and they do a lot of fundraising for charities and stuff. So I like supporting brands that are doing like mission driven stuff. And Sean, it's the reason me and Sean collab a lot is because, one, we have that same value in that sense of like, why not work with sick people and brands that are doing positive things? And like all me and Sean want to do is highlight that and like enhance that reach. So that's why, to answer your question in a long-winded answer, Sean, I'm wearing 4 of them.
No. I like the long-winded answer. All right. Also, knowing you got a big run in this morning. It's 11. What are you going to eat right after we get off this call?
Literally, Sean knows me very well.
Dead ass.
A 4-egg omelet, and you know my go-to is with avocado on a bagel. Like that's my go-to meal. That's probably one of my favorite meals. Is the 4-egg omelet with a ton of veggies and some with some sausage in there, and then an avocado bagel.
Hell yeah, I love that. Last thing, what are you reading right now?
Oh, that is a great damn question. I'm actually reading Cameron Haynes' book called Endure.
Ooh.
Yeah. Me and Sean just got done reading Alex Hormozi's book, $100 million off. It's actually on the floor right here. But yeah, that's what I'm reading right now, Sean. Endure by Cameron Haynes, which is, you know, Cam Haynes, obviously.
Dude, we, in Utah, me and Jason ran past him. And I remember like mile 88, he ran past us.
Hey, talk about the book Endure, right? I mean, he definitely can slowly go through suffering like that, and he's one of the best. I mean, dude, he's a beast.
He's a beast. Yeah, Matt, I appreciate this. You know, it really means a lot. Like, even though we chat a lot,
it's a different convo today. Honestly,
it's a different convo. It's also like, for those that don't know, you know, Matt's I think he's on a great trajectory right now, and he's got a lot of exciting things. And like we talked about in the beginning, when I brought up that awareness is kind of like one overarching thing that can like settle our brains, because, you know, we're trying to do so many things. The fact that like you prioritize this in your time, because this wasn't like me, like, you know, I wasn't like, the process to get Matt on here wasn't like laborious. I was like, Matt, let's do a pod. He's like, what time? You know, and like, you know, that means a lot, man. So I definitely appreciate it. Don't worry, we'll send you the recording for social. I know you're probably got your shit all set up. But I mean, yeah, man.
And no, Sean, man, one, it's always fun chatting with people that I respect, that I fuck with, that I just rock with, like energy wise, and it's just a no brainer. And obviously in things like this, and I know, I mean, dude, I'll give Sean a lot of credit, man. Like, Sean is doing things that are like, dude, this shit's not in Sean. Well, podcasting, I think, is very comfortable for you. Just because you're good at it and you're naturally just a good speaker, and like people just rock with your energy. But dude, I want to give you your flowers. Like, dude, I know that like making content and like, dude, you're stepping out of your comfort in a lot of ways, bro, that people don't see. And one, it's super fun working with guys that are also sharpening their own tools. And that's the biggest thing. Like, even for me working with Sean, like, one, he's very good at a lot of things. And the things that he's not good at, he's more than willing to try and attempt and just to get better at before he makes a predetermined judgment on something, right? And I think that's something for a lot of people to walk away with. Like, figure out the things that you're really good at and lean into those things. But there's something that every single human is not comfortable with, that they're not that good at, that you should try to attempt. Because one, you will learn new things about yourself and you'll have a better idea and a better perception on if you actually want to continue doing it or not. Because I think a lot of people make prejudgments before they actually try. And that's like life, dude. Life's all about trial and error, but most people don't even try things before they make a judgment on it. So I just want to give you that credit, Sean, because I know that it doesn't come as easy, but dude, it's super dope to just see your journey and even just trying and attempting it, bro.
That means a lot, man. I appreciate it. I really do. So thank you. And dude, until next time, unless you come out to Europe, it's gonna be circumnavigating Mount Rainier.
Oh, I can't wait to do that, my friend. It's gonna be a fun 100 miles backpacking with some really cool people. So it'd be really fun.
That'll be a blast. Matt, keep up the good fucking work, dude.
Hell yeah, bro. I'll chat with you soon, bro.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you for watching today's episode. If you got something out of this, it would mean so much if you could just take a second and give us a rating on whatever platform you're watching it on. And it would mean so much to the world if you could just find one person that you think this message resonates with and you can share that with them. Thank you so much for your support. Looking forward to share the next episode with you.